There's this idea, we kind of become the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. Sure, it's cute or whatever, but I think there's also this part where you do it in a way that's totally unconscious and you're losing something in the process as opposed to picking something up or just being in sync.
Yeah, I had a friend in Kenya and she got married. And within a year or 2, she starts talking, thinking like her husband. In so many ways, she adored him. Like he was like a god to her. So everything he said, the way he thought was better, you know? But I think when you're in a relationship like we are in, where we both feel confident in what we are bringing to the table, then it's not that unhealthy. I think you need to be comfortable. And then if you're not comfortable and you don't have the confidence, then I think that's where the issue becomes. Welcome back to this week's episode of It's Not All Black and White, where we are discussing, what are we talking about?
We have been talking about losing identity in a relationship. And before we jump back in, I just want to remind everyone, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you are listening on wherever you listen to your podcasts, make sure to subscribe and like what you see/hear. Subscription is really big for us. It certainly helps. And of course, if you love it, then that's even better. And if you love it and you tell us you love it, even better.
Yeah, give us some love. One of the other thing too is like I've noticed is like now when we get invitations, it's never Sarah. You know, it's like when people are like, hey, Sarah, you want to come to our house for dinner? It's always like Sarah and Matthew. Even when people are starting to like now refer to us, is like, oh, it's not just me. Like people would be like, do you want to make potatoes? Do you want to bring, that's the other thing. Is like, before I started dating you, when I would get invited to friends' houses, they know I don't cook. So no one ever asked me to bring cooked food. It was always like, can you pass by the store and get some drinks? You know, no one expected me to show up with potatoes or salad. Homemade salad. Everyone expected that I would show up with like something that I bought at the store. But after we became no longer Sarah, we became Sarah and Matthew. I'm telling you guys, I'm being asked to bring potatoes, sweet potatoes, salad, because people just know that desserts. I'm just like, now I'm making banana bread. You know, people just know that you are a really good cook.
But you made a pretty darn good banana bread. You made it, right? Or did I? I forget.
No, the banana bread?
Yeah, you made it.
When
Jubilee came.
Oh, you made it.
Oh, I did.
In Kenya, I made it.
Okay.
Yeah, I started making the banana bread. When I make it, you will know that I made it.
I'll be reminded of the fact. If we're not sure who made it, it's probably me.
But I don't think, and it's kind of funny because it was like my family asked me one time, like we were on vacation and I showed up with, what do you call it? Help me out here.
Quiche.
See, like know exactly what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. I showed up with quiche in the morning and I was like, I made this. And they're like, no way. You know, the neighbor had given it to me to take home. But now if I showed up with a quiche and I was like, I made this, I think they would be like, oh, thank you. Because they would just assume you made it.
Right.
You know, because there's definitely no way I'm whipping up a quiche.
Well, actually, at some point we will do the quiche episode where you will whip up a quiche because you will see actually whipping up a quiche is pretty easy. It's a pretty simple thing to whip up.
But yeah, I think like that's the other one of the things that have changed. And that's a good thing. You know, like I think now people, because they know that I'm in partnership with a man who's a really good cook, is like they are trusting to ask me to bring potluck.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah, so this kind of like growing together and this what I guess they call it shared mind, right? Is that when we're growing with that is to actually really be aware of it. I don't think it's a good or a bad thing inherently. I think what comes up is that to what extent are we conscious of it? To what extent do we lose part of our identity that we don't want to lose? To what extent do we pick up some of the other's identity that doesn't really fit us? And that's where the issues come. But there's also this thing of where we're actually also sort of strengthening our union, our bond, our understanding, that we actually come to a common place where we both stand super firmly on that common ground. And that feels really, really good.
Yeah, it does.
I just think, and it's almost like anything, I think we talked about this last week, was like, to what extent am I really bringing awareness to what I'm doing, and to what extent is the awareness, do I have none, so I can't name it. So something's going on and I don't feel quite, like, this doesn't feel right. And it could have been an example of that I could have seen would be maybe in a financial thing, right? Like, I'm a little bit more meticulous about my finances than you are. So it could also be very easy for me to say early on, like, maybe I think you're being irresponsible, and you could have turned to me and say, you're being super anal. And we actually both had something really valuable to learn from each other, because kind of you were a little bit too not paying attention enough, and I was a little bit too like overly paying attention. And, so it's finding that, that awareness around that that's so important. And that's the kind of thing that you could have just started to be like me, or I could have been like you. We could have ended up in a place that, I didn't get the benefit of what you had to bring, and you might have taken on some of the negative sides of my attention to financial detail. And that wouldn't have been very good. And you can see that also with food or something, right? Like, I could have just decided I'm just going to make only things that you like, or at the beginning you felt like I wasn't cooking foods that you felt were like, that doesn't feel like dinner to me. That's salad. I want something warm for dinner. That's really important to me, and then we get to see, oh, well, to what extent do you need to just have a cold dinner sometimes? And to what extent do I need to also really respect that that's really important to you? To what extent what is eating a salad really healthy, and to what extent is the thing that we're supplementing that with not as healthy?
Oh, yeah,
correct. So really just, it's almost like with everything around these relationship conversations it's awareness.
Yeah, bringing awareness. I had, talking about awareness, I had a friend in Kenya, and she got married. And within a year or two, she starts talking, thinking like her husband. And I was just like, where is my friend? Because before that, she wasn't like religious. She wasn't, I kid you not, her political view was very similar to his. The religion view was very similar to his. And so his jokes became her jokes. And it was like, you could see, and they're divorced now, but I was like, I had to talk to her, because I was like, every time I'm having a conversation with her, it became like, where's your voice in this? Like, she would be giving me advice, and I knew this girl like all my life, but she would be giving me advice, and I was like, that's not you. Like, I know you, I grew up with you. Like, where are you? Like, stop giving me advice as if he would be talking to me. It's as if he was in the room with us, but he wasn't in the room with us, and once they got divorced, she was like, I was talking to her, and I was like, yeah. And she was like, thank you for bringing that up, because I was losing myself in that relationship, because in so many ways she adored him. Like, he was like a god to her. So everything he said, the way he thought, was better, But I think when you're in a relationship like we are in, where we both feel confident in what we are bringing to the table, then it's not that unhealthy. I think you need to be comfortable. And then if you're not comfortable and you don't have the confidence, then I think that's where the issue becomes.
Yeah. And I think actually at the beginning, there were a few times where you brought up, like, I'm now doing this thing that doesn't feel right to me, and finding out where those limits are. Like, even talking about your friend, there's actually, that was probably going to happen to her no matter who she got together with. So part of her own growth was also coming to understand her identity. And, when we got together, we were both in our 30s. So what we got from that was that we had already established a certain identity. The negative side is that you can get really rigid in your identity. And then now compromise becomes a bad word, because like, I don't want to compromise because I know what works for me, So that's one side. And then the other side is I actually know where I stand. So now I can take on something from yours and try it on, be like, does this fit or not? yes, it fits great. I like that. That's better. Or no, it doesn't quite fit. Or let's figure out something that's in between that kind of works for both of us. And that was a great fortune. I don't know. It depends on when you get together. This thing of like losing ourselves in a way that didn't feel authentic, that made those early relationships not able to last, because I think we probably both feel we gave up more than we could in trying to make those things work. And now we don't need to.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, kind of like anything, I think that when you are working on something, when you're going through it, there actually isn't a mistake. Even like referring to your friend, like what she went through was actually part of her own growth. That you kind of almost hope that you can go through that without then ultimately needing to get divorced, or some of the pain that comes from figuring it out. But having some pain through the growth process of saying, wait, who am I really? She tried on her husband, and her husband did not fit her.
No.
Who he was, if she tried to be who he was, that didn't fit. And so, but some things really do fit. Sometimes something feels like it fits, and then it just totally doesn't. And I think we have to really be okay with that, growth process and some of the pain process that comes through it. You and I have had those moments, and they've been pretty small, fortunately for us. But we still have that where like we try on something a little bit too much from the other one, and then it's like, no, we have to shed it.
I think like one of the like most recent one where you were trying on, or I was trying on something, was like getting up at the same time.
Right.
We used to do that all the time, where it's like we'll try and like, you are more of a morning person than I am, and so you'd just be like set the same time as get up at the same time as I, and it just was stressful.
Right. Either you were getting up too early or I was getting up too late.
Yeah.
And it even started like, what time should we set the alarm for?
And I was like, and now it's like you set your own alarm, I set my own alarm, and we both get the amount of sleep that we both want, Mm-hmm. And that has worked out because waking up together was starting to be stressful.
Mm-hmm. But for a while, it was kind of nice. It worked.
For a while, it was really nice.
But then it didn't work anymore. And it may never work again, or it might come in and out. But to recognize sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And either way is perfectly okay.
Yeah. So that has been like where I was like, no, this ain't working.
Yeah.
So as we keep growing together, we're just going to try on what works and see what doesn't work,
Yeah. And hopefully we kind of support each other as we grow. Like you've got so many great qualities. I love taking them. I just feel I'm a way better person since I've been with you than I was before.
Oh, that's nice of you to say.
Well, it's the truth though.
I am a good person in so many ways because of you. I have to say that.
Yeah, we've really helped each other. And some of that's just like, I want to take on some of your great qualities.
I've become better with money.
Yeah. And I can also lean on you. Like we had a little confrontation that we had to have with a family member, and you just held the space so well because you didn't need to get involved. You're like, this isn't my fight. But then when I needed support, you're like, I can come in and be super gracious and just wonderful. So, so in that way, I haven't necessarily taken it on, but I'm like, I've come to say, you know what, I'm going to lean on you. Please come and rescue me when I need it, because you're better at this than I am.
So I guess, taking on what fits and leaving what doesn't fit.
There it is. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us this week on the Interracial Couple Podcast.
Where it's not all black and white.
I am Matthew. I am white. and Sarah is black. And between the two of us, here it is all black and white right here in our household. But everything that exists between us is all sorts of shades of brown and gray.
Oh, you're so cute.
All right. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.